Oh, what is going on, YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, and today, episode 62. And we got some fun, good vibes to bring right now because the Browns, they did it last week. They did what none of us thought they were going to do, and that's beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football in a snow game that ended up being beautiful to watch just as a fan. But they did it. Jameis kept a minute. Defense kept a minute. And Myles Garrett once again proved why he was the defensive player of the year. Last year, made a statement, and the Browns are now sitting in a little bit better of a spot. There's less drama going on, and I think what really helped was the fact that before the game, it was probably an hour or two before the game, I think, came the news of, hey, they're not going to look to get rid of Stefanski no matter what happens tonight. Same with, AB. Sounds like they're going to try to keep this core going, at least for now. So don't expect the firing to happen anytime, at least this season, or at least during this season. We'll see what happens after this season when everything's all said and done, because there is still, 6 games left to play. There's still a good bit of ball left to play. But yeah, they did it. So Andrew, how you feeling after that Thursday night game? It was obviously a fun big win for us, but it was like seeing a completely different team than what we saw against the Saints.
Yeah, it was completely different. It was a more organized team. It felt like we looked
more motivated.
Yeah, for some reason we just looked more motivated because I'm sitting there on the couch just watching, wondering, we were tied 14-14 in that fourth quarter against the Saints. Yeah. And we just gave up. But here, even up 18-6, and then giving that lead up to make it 19-18, in the middle of the fourth quarter, we did not give up. We kept playing hard. And it was like, where was this last week? Because you probably would have beaten the Saints last week if you just did what you did on Thursday night.
Yeah.
You would have beaten the Saints, and you're probably sitting at 4 wins now. And now you're fighting for a potential playoff spot. And I don't know what changed, but something fueled these boys, and they just looked a lot different. The defense was very active. The offense was more fluid. And even for someone like Jameis, who this was his first ever game in sub-40 temperatures and snow, he looked good.
Yeah.
He looked like he's done it before, and it's like, this is this dude's. Now, the interception was something I thought was going to what he was going to look like throughout the game, because it's like, oh, he's never played in sub-40 temperature. He's never played in snow. That pick is going to be what he's going to look like all game long, which I wouldn't have been mad at, because I don't blame him, because it's not his fault that he's never played in these kind of temperatures.
He was throwing to a white blanket of snow.
Yeah.
It was hard for us as viewers to see. I can't imagine how it looked down the field.
Well, yeah, and if you watched him, they zoomed in on his face, and you see him just like this.
Yeah.
He was squinting. He's like, this dude can't see shit.
Well, apparently he had his visor on, and then he took it off at some point. I don't know when.
I think it was before the snow.
Yeah.
And then he just said, fuck the visor.
Which the snow hit probably, around third quarter or so?
Mid-third quarter, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would put that visor back on.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, it was a crazy game. It was a pretty tough fought game the whole game. The Browns were never really out of it. I will admit, when we started giving up that lead that we built, and it was 19-18, and I was like, fuck. And then Winston throws that pick. I'm not going to lie. I turned it off, and I was like, man, there's no way they're going to do this. And then I gave it 2 minutes, and then I looked on Twitter, and I was like, fuck, they're going to get the ball again. All right, turn it back on. And I turned it on, and I'm so glad I did, because Jameis, dude, he clutched up. And
he did.
That's the ups and downs that you are going to get with Winston. And it's a lot like what we had with Flacco, where when he's good, he's great. But when he's bad, It's
He's bad.
it's down. It's a downfall. But the good thing about Winston and what the good thing was about even Flacco was even when he throws a pick, he's coming back. And I think it's just easier for these guys to believe in this team because of who's leading them. And I think we can say anything we want about Watson as a player and just what he does, but his leadership does not even remotely compare to what Jameis is doing for this team right now. And at this point, can we even say that we can even bring Watson back at this point after what Winston is showing? And again, another season where a backup quarterback does much better than Watson could in the same system with the same players.
Yeah.
The only thing that he didn't have was Chubb. And honestly, I don't think that would have mattered anyway.
Well, what's funny was I saw this post, I believe it was on Twitter, and they showed stats of the last 4 games between Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson in his 4 games this season, and Baker Mayfield. Jameis had more yards, more touchdowns, less picks, and I believe a better record and a higher QBR than all 3 of the other quarterbacks.
Yeah,
because Jameis, I think, was he like 2-2 as a starter now?
Yeah,
Baker went like 1-3 in the last few games. Joe Flacco went like 1-3 in his last few games, and same with Deshaun Watson. He went like 1-3 or whatever because his win was against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And Jameis had 1,200 yards. The next person was Baker at 990. Jameis had like 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, and the rest of them had like 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jameis had 2 picks or 3 picks or whatever, and the others had like 3, 4. So it was like, even bringing back Joe Flacco, Jameis is still playing better than Flacco.
Yeah.
And Joe Flacco only had like 650 yards compared to the 1,200 that Jameis had.
I mean, Jameis is literally averaging over 300 yards a game right now.
And that's the thing, because we were laughing at Watson for not even getting past like 175 all season.
200. He couldn't get past 200.
Yeah. And here's Jameis in this like first game, he threw for like 340. And then last week against the Saints, he threw for 400.
Yeah.
With the same offensive line. Actually, probably even a little bit of a worse offensive line right now.
I mean, if it wasn't for the stinker against the Chargers, I mean, you're talking about Jameis having like a great stretch because
that in the Saints.
That was a very flukish game. Like that just is what it is. Like, you're not going to get a lot of games like that. And like, again, granted to the Chargers, because they were so good on defense, they've slowed down quite a bit because they've played some much more powerhouse type offenses like the Bengals, like the Ravens, and they're giving up points, and it's like we weren't in that position, at that time.
Also, what's even funnier is that Jameis's 2 wins were against the Ravens and Steelers, and his 2 losses were the Chargers and Saints.
and that's one thing that I'll go back to with Stefanski. Listen, Stefanski's pretty mid against certain teams, but when it comes to the AFC North,
he's great.
He's got it. And I think that alone can keep him
in a job
on this team for a while, because if you're winning in the division, that's really what matters, because you're playing half of your season right there in the division. Like, that alone is very big. He's great against the Bengals. He's been great against the Ravens. He's been really good against the Steelers. We haven't had a coach like that. So, and again, you and I have both been very adamant at keeping Stefanski. So we're both on the same page here. But I can't admit, during the last episode, I was getting to a point where I had to like talk to myself and be like, man, like I'm going to have to talk myself into Stefanski getting kicked, because it just seemed inevitable. Did it not? Like, it felt like there was there was no other course of action. Like it was going to happen. This is how the Browns are. And granted, to the Browns players, they showed up. Like guys like Thornhill and stuff, they came out and they showed out and they played a lot better. And they showed heart. And we haven't had a whole lot of that this year. It's been a rough year. But to show that in a tough game like that, again, I think you got to give some props to Jameis because he just hypes his guys up. And I know to some people it may not seem truly uh, real with with him, with how he talks, like how uh, just charismatic he is. It almost seems fake to some people.
Mm-hmm.
It just genuinely is how he is, and that's what every Browns player keeps saying. And dude, like it's enough for me again to continue to tell people Winston can be your bridge quarterback for the next year or two. You can sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal, and that's more than worthy because he's still 31. He's not old.
I don't think he's
For a
31.
QB.
I think he just turned 30.
Yeah, like the point is he's still very young and pretty much in his prime as a QB, I would say.
Yeah.
So you don't have to move on from him like you kind of had to with Flacco. I mean, Flacco's 38 or 36, whatever it was. He's older up there. So it made more sense for the Browns to not bring him back for more than 1 year. And it just made sense for us. So with Winston, you're essentially getting the same quarterback, but you're getting him 8 years younger.
Yeah. And that's what I mean.
Makes sense.
He'll be 31 in January.
Okay.
But like you said, it's Joe Flacco, but like 9 years younger. And I think what we see and I think this is why the players like Jameis and this is the reason why they liked Joe Flacco is because he's got a great arm. Sure. Does he throw a lot of picks? Sure. But you know what's even great about that is that even though he throws picks, he's not afraid to make mistakes. He's not afraid to go back to that deep ball. He's not afraid to go back
and
he bounces back. Those 3 balls to Jerry Jeudy towards the end of the game were some of the best throws I've seen in a long time.
Again, in the snow too.
In the snow. 3 perfect balls to Jerry Jeudy. 2 of them on 4th down.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were huge throws. And then he had the one where Chubb got into the end zone for the final touchdown. And it was just a perfect ball right to his chest at the 4-yard line. And he
even ran it in for a for a tutty as well. Like
I thought he was sacked on that play, and he managed to get
out
of it.
On 4th down as well, I'm pretty sure.
On a 4th down as well. I think the Browns were like 4 out of 5 on 4th downs.
Yeah.
I think we were almost perfect on 4th down. Yeah. I was like, this is probably the best offensive game we've had in a long time in the snow. And you had a guy out there who's never played in the snow in his life because he's from Alabama. Yeah. He played college at FSU. Yeah. He played for Tampa Bay and New Orleans.
Yeah.
He played in the South his entire life. He put every game he played was in the South, and then all those Southern teams have domes too. So he never. And the times he came up north, he got lucky because those were September games or they were fucking domed games up north.
Yep, because they didn't have to worry about playing in the division until later on in the year anyway. So,
and also too, if you were to play the Giants in December, he would get lucky and that game would be 58 degrees and sunny out. He would get bailed out by the weather.
Or it would just be at home and then it didn't matter.
Yeah,
it was
at home. It didn't fucking matter.
Yeah. So,
but the thing is to the point you made about Winston and Watson, I think you could sign Winston to a 2-year deal. And I think what you can do as well, because I can't remember. I know this was a while ago, and I believe it happened in the NFL. And I can't remember the team and the player. So if you know, let me know. But I remember the same thing happened to this team a few years ago. And what they did was they had a massive contract quarterback, and he wasn't playing well. I want to say it was the Jets and with Darnold or something. I don't remember, or it could have been a little bit before that. And it could have been a completely different team. But they had an insane quarterback on an insane contract, and he was playing like Watson. And what they did was the backup was playing 10 times better. And what they did was they signed the backup to a year or 2 deal because the QB class in the next like couple years weren't that great.
Yeah.
And what they did was they told the other QB, like, listen, we paid you a lot of money and we're gonna be in cap hell if we just release you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep you on the roster, but just stay home. Don't show up to practice, don't show up to games, just stay home. And they could probably do that same thing to Deshaun Watson. Like, we'll keep you on the roster.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to sign Winston to a year, 2-year deal until we get a good QB draft class where we feel comfortable drafting a quarterback or signing another free agent. And what we're going to do is we're just going to have you stay home. Like, don't bother coming to practice. You'll get your money.
Quarterback, the most expensive emergency quarterback in
what
NFL history.
What to do is to throw him to the practice squad. And he'll just be a practice squad QB. And he'll just show up to the practice squad practices, throw some balls, go home, and he'll get paid. He'll be like, listen, you'll still get paid, you'll still get your money, but you're not playing another fucking down ever in your life on this team.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they try to restructure his deal again.
They probably will.
And then what they're going to do is they're going to give him a lot more money up front and then say, okay, here's your options. This is what we're going to do. Because regardless, even if you bring Watson back and you let him compete, he's not going to be able to even be ready to play until probably September or October, depending on how this heals. And honest to God, at this point, like, if you're Watson, do you even consider retirement? I mean, you lose out on money, but like, where the fuck are you going to go after this?
It's the same.
Nobody's going to want you.
Well, it's the same position as Aaron Rodgers right now because Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles last year, and now his career is up in the air. Like, I know he says he wants to play another year, but he looks.
A-Rod. You never know what he's really.
But he looks horrible this year, and everyone had the Jets making the playoffs, potentially being a Super Bowl caliber team, and he can't even throw the football anymore. And
yeah, they're in the same boat as us, pretty much.
Yeah, and they're like, dude, what the hell happened to you? Like, you're trash now. And now he's at the point where it's like, well, I tore my Achilles. Do I just retire at this point? Or do I try to go one more? And that's probably what Watson's going through right now is like, do I try to go another year for a different team? Or do I just call it because I'm washed?
Yeah. I mean, I still am in favor of.
Or you can find a trade package with someone and see if you can't get them off the books onto another team's books. Or
I mean, if you really can, yeah, that's fine. But you're gonna have to eat a lot, regardless.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, go to like Carolina and be like, listen, we'll eat like 60% of this contract, and you take the other 40. And
but this thing about Carolina now, Bryce Young looks better. Bryce Young played a hell of a game last weekend. Like he literally took it to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been impressed with him. So.
And what's funny is, did you hear about the Houston fans? They're like, "Oh, we want our old quarterback. We want number 4 back."
I would take Stroud in
so
a
fast.
fucking heartbeat. Could you imagine Stroud in this offense with Stefanski? Could you imagine? Like, I mean, I can imagine like Kirk Cousins. You know, something that is a little more obtainable.
Yeah.
But you want to give us Stroud, dude? Don't even take picks. Don't even
give me Stroud and Nico.
We will eat every bit of this contract if you give us Stroud. Straight up. I don't even care about Nico.
Yeah.
Because we're just going to draft another receiver or probably 2 this year.
Yeah.
And then we're going to reload. Like,
if you give me CJ Stroud, dude. Oh, we have a quarterback for the future.
Yeah, just nut button. Nut button.
Nut. Dude, like, we have our future. We have our QB that we've always been wanting for years.
Yeah, for the next fucking 10 years plus. I mean, like, Stroud is a good quarterback. It's Houston has a shit offensive line. And a shit O-line and not a great OC, in my opinion.
And you can still re-sign Jameis Winston as a backup, just in case if anything happens to Stroud. Or you ride with DTR behind him or something.
Yeah, but like, so if you remember last year, especially when it came to the Flacco stuff, do you remember the rumor of like Watson's camp? Like they were upset or they had like a it wasn't a fear of Flacco, but it was like the fact that his job would be threatened had they kept Flacco. I don't think there's that anymore. I think the Browns don't give a fuck at this point. They're like, listen, we have to do what we have to do to keep this fan base from losing their fucking minds because they've been through enough.
Yeah.
We don't need to do this anymore.
We don't care about how Watson feels. Like, we feel he's washed.
Yeah.
We're going to keep a guy who can at least win football games right now and not
bridge us to somebody else in 2 years.
Well, the thing is like, Watson's afraid to throw a 5-yard pass now. Like, he is terrified of a fucking dink and dunk now, and let alone he throws more than 10 yards.
Meanwhile, Winston has, I think, the second or third longest touchdown of the year. This year. It's like, the 89-yarder to Judy. And let's also not put this out too. Jerry Jeudy looks like a legit wide receiver one with a better quarterback at play.
Even though he could have just waited 1 year for Bo Nix, but
yeah.
But I mean, I'll take Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy looks like a number one receiver now.
Yeah. And Elijah Moore looks like
Tillman is finally starting to take that next step. And Njoku looks better. Chubb is getting his flow back.
Moore looks like a number 2.
Even Elijah Moore has played better because he's getting the fucking rock. He's able to spread it out.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling. It really makes you think if Watson actually knows how to play quarterback or if he just knows how to throw the football. And even that, he wasn't that good at this year prior to his injury. So it's like, at this point, the patience should be gone, even for the Browns front office sake, because they're like, listen, you've been here for 3 seasons now. You've been suspended for 12 games, and you've only played like a total of 12 games since then. He's basically played a full season's worth in 3 seasons and has little to show for it. And it's so crazy because before he got hurt last year in that freaking Ravens game, that was that first sign of life that we're like, okay, that's Watson. Like, that's what we thought Watson was going to be for us all the time.
Yeah.
And there's just no hope of that. And there's no point of even getting your hopes up for that. I don't know how any fan on Twitter or any sort of social media can still defend him. I don't know. I don't know whose dick you're riding. I don't know who's paying you to do that, but there's no fucking way you actually believe in 4 at this point. And honestly, I don't feel bad for a single person that decided to buy his jersey. You're dumber. You're dumber than I was when I bought a Johnny Manziel jersey in 2015. Okay? Like, I did that because I was 19. You're a 45-year-old grown adult, and you bought a Watson jersey.
I say smart
of everything you get.
I tried to stay smart with my picks because I bought back in 2018. I bought Baker when I went to the Browns Jets game, and then I ended up buying Nick Chubb a couple last year, 2 years ago, whatever. Because I was like, if I'm gonna get a player now, it's gonna be a safe bet like Nick Chubb or Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Or, I mean, if you really, really do want to go safe, you just get a Joe Thomas jersey and then you call it. Because then you never have to replace that ever again.
I did see a Peyton Hillis jersey the other day.
I have one at my dad's house somewhere, and it's like it's not even a real jersey. I don't know where my parents got this from. It's kind of cool. It's like an army sort of vibe one, but like the Browns never wore it, so it's just one of those like Fanatics jerseys or something. Whoever the fuck made it, I have to look at it. But yeah, dude, I had a Hillis jersey, I had a Josh Cribs jersey at one point.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a couple, but dude,
I think I had
that's rough. That is rough.
Yeah, I don't see how you can rock 4. It's just. You can't rock him anymore. You can't wear his jersey anymore. He is so washed. He's more washed than my washing machine. That's how washed he is. Like, I can't even do it. And it was funny because my girlfriend was watching a TV show, and if you're into a lot of that TV drama, she was watching Selling Sunset, which is a bunch of rich ass realtors who sell like $200 million homes or whatever, like $1 million homes to celebrities and athletes, or like just random people who just make millions.
Yeah, Suits is my shit.
Yeah.
So I love Suits.
So she was watching Selling Sunset, which is like one of those reality shows about realtors who sell homes, whatever. And the only reason why I've watched a couple episodes with her is because I just like looking at the houses and just seeing what the inside of the houses look like because they look dope. And guess who was on the episode I watched with her recently? Deshaun Watson looking for an LA home for the offseason.
Of course.
And of course, they're like, well, we should probably put in the bid because we have to head back to Cleveland soon. And I'm like, or you could stay out there and never come back.
Yeah.
You could stay in that LA home and just leave forever.
It's like, how about you go ahead and you go to fucking Atlanta, and then we'll just take Kirk Cousins, and then you can duke it out with Penix and deal with that. But fuck off. Off.
At this point, I'd take Sam Darnold over him.
Yeah, and I mean, after Daniel Jones going there, obviously he's going to be a practice squad guy, but like Sam Darnold might not be with the Vikings after this year, because you got to think about Daniel Jones makes sense. And also, it wouldn't not make sense for the Browns to kick the tires on him if they really didn't want to bring back Winston. I think Daniel Jones is not a bad quarterback, and I think under Stefanski's system, he would be a lot better.
I think Daniel Jones was just thrown under a trash situation. Like Brian Dable sucks.
Yeah, I think he's garbage. He's always been garbage since he was with the Bills. I think Josh Allen made him look a lot better, because even the Bills' current head coach is not that great of a head coach. It's just Josh Allen's just that fucking good, man.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Well, he made Dable look good. He made Dorsey look good. He made all these other coaches look good.
And they still fired Dorsey because he was holding them back from actually running the ball a little bit, because it was too much Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And it was like,
and
it was
James
getting
Cook
him killed.
Yeah, and James Cook was a stud.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can't see us riding with 4 any longer. I think the options right now is to ride with Winston for the next couple of years until you can find a good QB class to draft one, or maybe if Jameis commands a little bit too much money, you go out in the offseason, you just go get yourself a Kirk Cousins or a Sam Darnold or someone else that probably fits a Stefanski system a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like your typical standard like white QB that sits in the pocket. But the thing is like, the reason why like I'm still a little bit iffy on Kirk Cousins is because of his age. Because obviously he's like 36, 37 years old now, and I'm tired of these aging quarterbacks at this point.
Sam Darnold is competent enough. He's competent enough to play. I mean, dude, he had a 500-yard game this season.
Yeah.
It's not like he can't do it. I just really think the offense in Atlanta just doesn't fit him well.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously they're run heavy with Bijan, as they should. Well, it is Bijan. He's fucking awesome. But
I can see us next year ditching the Dorsey playbook and ditching Dorsey completely and just going back to the old Stefanski run heavy offense and play action, which would suit Kirk Cousins so much better than what he's doing in Atlanta right now.
Yeah, it would. It really would. But yeah, I mean, again, there's still some games left to play. We got the Broncos on Monday night. So we are still in prime time, which I think is cool. And listen, the Broncos have been pretty solid this year.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is my current favorite for the offensive rookie of the year. And I think he's going to do it because he's on a much more consistent tear. And I think we could take a little playbook or, a little play out of their book of Denver in the way that they handled the Russ ordeal.
I will say Bo Nix has looked good, but now after looking at the schedule for them,
it's going to be harder for him. Yeah.
Well, he's beaten the Raiders. He's beaten the Falcons. He's beaten the Panthers, Saints. He's beaten the Raiders. He's beaten the Raiders twice. He's beaten the Falcons. He's beaten the Saints, the Panthers, the Jets. A beaten up Jets and a beaten up Bucks team.
Right.
So the teams he has beaten were already bad or really severely beaten up, and the teams he lost to the Seahawks, the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Chiefs.
Right.
So when it does come to good teams, he does struggle. But we're also a bad team, and he could look really good against us. Which is but unless our defense played like they did against the Steelers, I don't see a problem with us winning this game. Especially if Jameis goes crazy.
Exactly. And I mean, that is what I'm kind of banking on, is just the fact that if Jameis can play well, we're going to be fine. And I actually like the moves that we made today. We got a few DNs to just add some depth. That James Houston kid, he's an interesting prospect because although he doesn't record a lot of sacks or anything, his pressure rate's at like 14.5% this year. You know, and I think the Browns care about that a little bit more. And again, this is coming off a Myles Garrett 3-sack game against Pittsburgh. He's playing pissed off right now. And that game was, I think, that again, as I said earlier, was a fucking statement game by him because all that talk with TJ, he proved it because TJ did nothing. TJ gave out more high fives than he did tackles.
Yeah,
I mean, it was pathetic. That was one of the worst performances I've seen him do, and I saw him get the shit beat out of him by DeJuan Jones last year. Like it's not the first time we've seen Watt throw up an absolute dud, but in Pittsburgh, he's going to play better. I already know that for a fact, and Pittsburgh is going to play better in Pittsburgh because they're going to be pissed off. But again, if the Browns can win against Broncos and then they go back into Pittsburgh in the next 10 days or so, it's going to be back to okay. If the Browns can sweep the Steelers, they still have the Bengals to play. They still have the Ravens to play one more time, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and a lot of these teams, besides the Bengals, really are fighting for playoff spots. So again,
I did see something where if the Browns went out and one of the it's like the Chargers, the Steelers, the Ravens, and someone else, if they just lose one game and the Browns win out, the Browns will make the playoffs because then the Browns would have the tiebreakers against the Steelers, the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think they would have the tiebreaker over the Bengals. Well, they'd be tied, but I think they would have some other tiebreaker over them.
Right.
But they would have the tiebreaker over all these teams. So if the Browns could somehow manage to win out and one of those teams just loses one game, no matter who loses, they take their spot in the playoff.
Yeah.
So there's still a hope for a playoff because if you win against the Denver Broncos and you win against the Steelers, you're sitting at 5-8 at this point?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. Could you imagine if Jameis just started the season? We probably would not be in this position at all. We would probably have beaten the Giants. We would have beaten the Bengals. We would be probably a flipped record almost at this point.
I mean, it definitely feels like it.
So it makes no sense because, I don't know. I think with Jameis, he's like you said, he's elevated Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy had almost 100 receiving yards. Jordan Akins played well. Tillman had a couple good catches. Elijah Moore had a few good catches. David Njoku just had his one, but he also had the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
I mean, Jameis looked good. This team looked good, and then obviously Myles Garrett had his 3-sack strip fumble performance, and basically called out TJ Watt for being trash. And now Garrett's 1.5 sacks away from being the top sack leader again.
Yeah.
So he could go back-to-back defensive player of the year. That would piss off Watt even more.
Oh yeah. That would piss off Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Which, by the way, I'm sure you saw the Barstool Sports guys talk about Myles Garrett. Look, I get that you can have the excuse, I guess, of being emotional after a game, but don't wish injury on another fucking player.
Oh yeah, that's
That
awful.
is, I mean, I expect it out of that dude because he's always been a fucking asshole on the
Yeah.
internet. He's said a lot of fucked up shit over the years. So it doesn't surprise me. The dude's a piece of shit. You're from Pittsburgh. I get it. Your life sucks. But dude,
Well, I
come on.
when I saw that, I was like, dude, you know what that's gonna do? Instead of Miles Garrett getting injured, someone else is gonna get injured, and it's the guy you don't want to
Yeah.
get injured the most, and it's gonna happen
That's
to
how
him.
karma
And
works, man. It's how karma works. And like, especially to say that too after what happened to Chubb last year. Like, fuck
yeah,
you, dude.
yeah,
Because we
like you go
had so
suck it,
many
dude.
Steelers fans that were nice to us about that. Like we're actually like, wow, man, that was awful. Like, I'm so sorry to see that. Like, it's not like it's not like every Steelers fan is like that. Obviously, like you've been to
Yeah.
Steelers games up there, like you know that the fans up there are
Oh,
usually pretty cool.
I talked to someone the other day about it, and they're like, "Listen, as much as I hate the Browns, it was great to see Nick Chubb do so well."
Yeah, like it's inspired, dude. It's such a full circle moment to have that, you know?
Yeah, like they're like, if we were gonna lose, we wanted to lose by Nick Chubb. Like we wanted Nick Chubb to be the one that beat us,
Yeah.
and he got two tutties, and he's like, I was glad that he was the one that beat us. If anyone deserved it, it was him.
Yeah.
After what happened last year, and it's like you said, it's like there's a few good fans out there that are Steelers fans, but some of them are just straight up assholes, man, and it really shows. Also, if you haven't checked it out already, shout out to Justin Pugh, former offensive lineman for the New York Giants. Retired offensive lineman after like 13 years. Um, has a YouTube channel. He's going to every Thursday night football game and ranking them. And he went to the Browns Steelers game, and he said it was probably the best football game he's ever been to in his entire life.
Oh yeah.
And he said it's one of those games where, even as a former player, he's like, I wish I was able to suit up for like the Browns or something and just play in that game because it looks so much fun. It looks intense. He's like, that those are the games you just live for as a player.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he gave the Brown, and like he did like one of those like tier lists, whatever, like the S A B C D F, whatever. His only S tiers are the Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And we're the one of the only S tiers that he has. And I think the bottom tier was like the Saints at like a D right now.
Yeah.
Because he goes based on like atmosphere, like quality of game, and other different things. Food that he goes and tries because he went to like Slimans and a couple
Right.
other places, and he said I didn't know Cleveland had a good food culture at all.
Yeah, it's funny.
But if you haven't get the chance to, it's like a 45-minute video, but it's definitely worth the watch. So shout out to Justin Pugh for coming to Cleveland and checking out the Brown Steelers game, which he dodged a couple points because of the Muni Lot experience because he wanted to do the cake bowling and stuff, but because of the weather and stuff, they didn't allow that many people into the Muni Lot.
Yeah.
So he said next year he'll come back for like a normal like 1 p.m. game in like September or something and just have an experience.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you ever get the chance to go to like a fun Browns game like that, it is truly fun. Now, when it's rough, Browns games are rough, but fans always show up.
No matter
And
how bad it is.
especially for primetime games. And I mean, honestly, even I was a little surprised that many people showed up because like you and I were even saying like, man, there's probably going to be a lot of Steelers fans there, and it really didn't feel that way at all. Like there was, like you heard them, but Browns fans were louder, and the Browns gave them something to cheer for, and that's why it was just so nice to see everybody. Like even Chubb today in his presser was like, we just played harder, and like that's what it was. Like people are just playing harder.
Also, fuck Russell Wilson because he said the reason why Pickens was out of the reason why Pickens was out of the Hail Mary is because of Greg Newsom. And it's like, brother,
You were pulling his head.
I was like, bro, your boy was pulling Greg Newsom's face mask the entire fucking way.
Yeah,
like and tried
he
to
wasn't
fight
even
him.
trying to be the guy to go up for the ball. He didn't even attempt to jump for the ball.
No, he was just too busy pulling the face mask of Greg Newsom and pulling him through the end zone to fight him because he's salty as hell.
Yeah,
and of course, he goes after the game and blames the weather. Like, dude, first and foremost, both teams playing the same weather, like in the same time. So it's like it's not like the weather did anything because the Browns were playing in that same weather, and like you were, the Browns were just better.
Yeah.
And number two, you play in Pittsburgh. It's not like you don't have snow games and others in Pittsburgh too, and cold weather games. So you can't act like it was the weather's fault.
Yeah, you can.
You play that every single season in the AFC North, no matter where
Yeah.
you go, whether it's
That's
Cleveland,
literally
Cincinnati,
AFC
Baltimore, or
North football.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's AFC North football. That what you saw on Thursday is AFC North football. You cannot make excuses, and it's crazy that like other pundits and stuff are like, brother, we can't defend you on this because that's just
Yeah.
AFC North football. Like, if you can't handle it, go to the like NFC South, you pussy.
Yeah. It makes me laugh. That was the thing too. It's like, again, Jameis Winston's from Alabama. He hasn't played in. That was his first game in the snow ever.
A game
this guy
under
balled
40
out.
degrees.
And he played well.
And he balled out.
And he fucking gave us a chance to win, and that's all you can ask of him. And that's why like I'm so on board with continuing to keep him on this team past this season at the very least. And then you can either draft, you can, assess in 2026, whatever your plan is, you can at least bring back Winston and say, okay, Winston, we're going to make you the guy for this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really going to be a lot of pressure. This is our plan. We're going to keep you in the loop. And again, it's like with fucking what the Broncos did, and even what Washington has done.
Yeah.
Even what New England has done. They all got young guys. New England didn't bring on theirs right away. Bo Nix struggled, but he's getting a lot better. And honestly, I thought Bo Nix was going to be the best quarterback out of that draft besides Jaden Daniels because he had the most experience in college. And that's the thing that really sucks about this next line of QBs. Is, again, there's a lot of guys that haven't played a whole lot of college ball that are going to be in this draft that are going to go much higher than a guy like, Will Howard, who is like a 4th or 5th year senior, I think.
Yeah.
He's not going to go high on the board. You guys, you have guys like Drew Aller, who I saw in a mock draft. Drew Aller was going to go 8 to us, and I was like,
no way.
He's not going in the first round. He's not that good.
Maybe the 8th pick of the 3rd round.
Yeah, but like you're fucking crazy if you think that's going to happen. Or even like Carson Beck. Like Carson Beck isn't going to be a first round quarterback. He's going to be more like a 3rd round quarterback. And that's a guy that you can bring in and say, hey, he's going to be the new DTR, but he's more Stefanski friendly than DTR is. So like, again, you have to reassess what you have with this coaching staff and say, listen, this is the way I want this ran. This is the way I want this done. Here's my guys that I believe can do that based on what they do. And I just think the Browns have to do a little bit better of a job with the scouting. So if they can fix that, and if they can get rid of some of these coordinators that haven't really panned out, then I think they'll be in a much better spot. Which sucks because I thought we did the work to do that. I thought the people that we brought in this year was going to do that for us, and they just haven't. And that's just the name of the game.
Yeah.
But I don't want to spend too much more time on this because we still have some time to talk about the one game that I only care about this week, honestly. It's the game. We made an episode last year strictly dedicated to this game, and it didn't pan out in our favor. But it's the game this week, my friends. Ohio State versus that team up north. And my fucking God, I am ready for war on Saturday. I have never been more ready to beat the living shit out of them like we should this weekend.
Yeah.
Ohio State, I believe, is like a 20.5-point favorite at this moment. It could have gone up. It could have gone down. I don't know.
They are at 20. 20. Yeah, they're at 20 now. It opened at 20.5. They're at 20 now. So they went down half a point.
So they're a 20-point favorite in this game. And honestly, I think that's about right.
Yeah.
There is no reason at all you can't drop a 50 burger on them at this point. And you sort of had that in you against Indiana, which, listen, I thought the Indiana game was going to be a little bit better than it was. Ohio State came in and said, listen, you're going to start off and do your thing, and then after that, we're going to smother you. They got 5 sacks on that quarterback. I think he had like 60 yards for the game passing. Yeah. They couldn't get anything done on offense after that first drive. And Will Howard continues to look like a very underrated, like Heisman candidate level quarterback that probably won't even get nominated for one, because of all of the other names out there.
Yeah.
It's just really sad. But the run game played well. Again, the defense played out of their fucking mind. And I just think after everything that's happened the last few years with that team up north and how bad they are, I think Ohio State has to go for the throat. And they have to
100%.
really, really mean it. And I actually think after seeing Ryan Day talk about it this week, I think he gets it now. I think after everything that he had to go through last year, all of the scrutiny he's had to go through, I think he gets it. And now that he gets it, and you have a quarterback that gets it, because Will Howard gets it. And dude, every time I hear him talk about the game, he just he talks like an Ohio State quarterback should. He cares about this game. McCord didn't give a fuck about this game last year. That's what pissed me off. Will Howard gets this game. He is passionate about it. He knows how important it is to the fans and just to college football in general. It's just one of the best rivalries in sports for a reason. It's up there with Alabama Auburn. It's up there with, those just gridiron, just nasty games. It's rivalry week. And this game could be a bloodbath, in my opinion. What do you think is going to go with this game? Because personally, again, I think this is going to be a 50 bomb. I think we're going to go in. Michigan's going to play somewhat well because it still is the Iggy game.
Yeah.
But it's only because their defense is still decent. But they are nothing like the team they were last year or even the last few years.
Yeah.
Ohio State should mollywop this fucking team this year.
Yeah, I think with how this season's going, 50 points should be nothing in this game. Will Howard has looked so good. Like you said, he should be a Heisman candidate right now. And he's probably not going to be because of guys like Ashton Genty from Boise State and because of Cam Ward. But Michigan's offense is horrendous this year. It has not been like the last few years.
No.
JJ McCarthy's gone. Blake Corum is gone. Roman Wilson's gone. Those guys are gone. And to be fair, their head coach right now is trash. I know it's the same guy that filled in for Harbaugh last year when he got suspended for the cheating scandal.
Yeah.
I forget the coach's name for some reason. I'll have to look that up. But he's not good at all because he beat Ohio State. But again, it
was Jim Harbaugh's team.
Yeah, Sherrone Moore is Sherrone Moore. He's the coach now. Sherrone Moore is not as good as John Harbaugh. Because John Harbaugh is an excellent coach. I will give him that. He's a phenomenal head coach. Because, look at what he's doing with the Chargers right now. He's doing really well with the Chargers. But Sherrone Moore is garbage, has zero experience. And without Connor Stallions cheating for you, it's shown all season. They're 6-4. Yeah. They are horrible. Their defense has taken a step back. Their offense has lost the weapons. And they've taken a massive step back.
Yeah.
Now they did have that 5-star recruit transfer schools, and they're going and that 5-star QB committed to Michigan. He's probably going to rethink that after this game.
Yeah.
Like, damn, if they get 50 balled, I can't come to this school unless he thinks he can go there to revive it.
Yeah.
But I think the Buckeyes just got the top 5-star offensive tackle that just committed. So it's like eye for an eye. We just got one of the best offensive tackles in the class.
And I'm pretty sure we just got another top quarterback as well for this draft.
Yeah. I think we got another 5-star QB too. So we're still dogging on you guys and
we're still going to probably lose Aaron Nolan. Like that's probably going to happen because Julian Fleming is going to be the quarterback next year.
And he's a dog.
He was a higher rank than Aaron Nolan was. Like, again, but Ohio State is in the perfect position to beat that ass. And I just think you're getting a very pissed off Ryan Day. And I think we saw it at the end of that Indiana game. And there was a lot of talk about, man, Ryan Day's a dick. And I'm like, he is. But after all the shit that, their coach was talking all year long about how we suck, and then kept continuing it, poking the bear. And then we said, hey,
I love the Will Howard
remember
stopping out
where
the
you are.
cigarette.
Yeah.
Will Howard stopping out the cigarette was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
We have 30 straight wins against Indiana. Did you really think just because you were undefeated and you haven't beat a single top team, you didn't even play Penn State this year? You didn't you didn't play any of the Big Ten teams that we had to play. You were still a top 5 team somehow, and now you got brought back down to earth.
And you got blown out.
And you got blown out.
You got 30 balled.
Yeah, I mean it's again. I just really hope Ohio State comes out beyond pissed.
A lot of
how they should have last year.
A lot of the pressers I saw, even just from the players, they're talking about the Indiana game. They're I don't want to talk about the Indiana game. I want to talk about the Michigan game. I want to talk about that game. Yeah. So if you're gonna ask me questions about that game. They were all locked in.
Yeah, they're locked in. They're ready
on
to go.
The Michigan. They're even just after the Indiana game, they just dominated by Indiana by 20, and they're don't ask me Indiana questions. Ask me Michigan questions. Yeah. I want Michigan.
And again, them to me. It's with them last year, Michigan really had to basically shut down Marvin Harrison, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Who do you pick to shut down? Because if you decide to pick Jeremiah Smith, okay, Ibuka's going to go off. If you try to stop one guy in the run game, you're probably not going to stop the other.
Yeah.
And this defense is playing out of their fucking mind.
Yeah.
We are finally getting a ton of pressure, and it's beautiful.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say shout out to guys like JT who got a big sack last week. Jack Sawyer had a 1.5.
They even have a Boza lookalike, number 92. Was playing phenomenal.
Caden Curry.
Yeah. He looks outstanding as well.
Also, look out for number 0, Cody Simon. 2.5 sacks.
The Block O winner. He is the team captain, and he's finally healthy because he's been battling some little minor things throughout the season. He's healthy, and he's playing out of his mind. The only guy that's been fucking us is that one cornerback that got 4 PIs last week. Club his hands. Don't let him hold anybody, and he's fine because he's good in man coverage, but he holds a lot and he gets PIs called on him because of it. But I mean, Caleb Downs, unbelievable safety. I think we have so much going for us. There's no way we lose this game. If you lose this game, this is Brian Day's. Then it's Brian Day's
final
doomsday. It really is because you can't lose 4 straight years to Michigan. We said this last year. You can't lose 3 straight games to them. If you lose 4, you're talking about the worst stretch that we've had against them since the 90s when we were bad, and there was a lot of pissed off fans about that. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to finally shut up some of these Michigan fans.
And I think we're going to live stream the game, aren't we?
Oh yeah, I'm down to.
Because it's a Saturday noon kickoff.
Yeah, the afternoon game. So as long as I don't have to do any laundry, well, I'll try to do my laundry on Friday, so that way I don't have to do it on Saturday. But either way, I'll probably do it after the game.
This would be a fun one to stream.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a fun game where I might get some drinks or something. And just try to enjoy this fully.
What's funny is for the Thursday night Browns game, our apartment building, the maintenance team had meet the maintenance team pizza party, whatever. And so you went down to the lobby and there's pizza, and then they had tubs of different drinks pop and whatever, and then beer and White Claws, and they're like, oh hey Andrew, how's it going? I was like, good. And I was like, no pizza, and they're like, it's all gone. And I was like, damn. And they kidding. He goes, here, and he took a grocery bag, and he gave me almost 6-7 Bud Lights, and he's like, here you go. I was like, all right, cool enough. Now
It's
stocked
pretty
up for
much the
the
same calories.
yeah. So I was like,
Good.
well, I drank like one of them during the Browns game because
Yeah.
I was like, I should save these for the Buckeyes and the Buckeye Michigan game, so that way we
Yeah.
could stream and I could just have a couple of those and
Yeah.
enjoy my day. So
Absolutely.
I'm definitely gonna crack a couple brewskis with you during that game and
Hell yeah. So
chill.
yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited just because it's the game. Like this is
Absolutely.
like as an Ohio State fan, this is the game you always mark on your calendar. This is the game
Mhm.
that nothing else matters. And that was the theme when it came to like when we had Urban and we had Tressel was nothing else mattered because you were going to win damn near every game throughout the season.
Yeah.
The only one that mattered was that one at the end. And I love the fact that 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 this game is always at the end of the year. It makes the end of the season mean so much more. Instead of playing a Maryland or playing a Purdue or a Northwestern, like these teams like Penn State and Indiana have to do, and it's like even if they are your rivals, those are some shitty ass rivals to play compared to what we got to deal with, and I fucking love
Yeah.
it. And it'll just set up the Big Ten championship game, and then comes the playoffs, and then at that point, the playoff is what a 12-man playoff this year, so
12-man playoff.
it's gonna be absolute mayhem. Like I don't know how it's gonna work. I don't know where they're gonna insert us, but I'm excited about it all. It's gonna make college football playoffs like fucking March Madness
Oh,
because
absolutely.
of the upsets. Like you're gonna have the Boise States and a team like uh, Ole Miss or those types of teams that are gonna sneak in and win a game or two and really make a run. And it's gonna be fun. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited, but don't really have too much more to talk about besides just getting 2 hour picks.
Yep, let's do it.
So what
Share the
did we
screen.
do last week? What was the records?
So we both went because we both had the exact same picks. We both went 8-5.
Yeah, let's say it wasn't a great week last week.
No. And our current record, Zach, you are at 103-61.
Whew.
And I am at 96-68.
All right, so you're definitely gonna get over that hump.
Yep, I'm creeping up, but let's get into week 13. We have 3 games tomorrow for Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, baby. And then we have our
Yes, Turkey Day.
Turkey Day. Then
Love it.
we have a Black Friday game. So we have a game all weekend essentially. We have 3 on Thursday, 1
It's
Friday, all
beautiful.
day Sunday,
Oh, it's so beautiful. And then
and a
Monday night.
Monday night. So we have a full slate of football on Sunday and tomorrow. Essentially tomorrow too. We have a full slate and we have one game on Thursday or Friday. So then we got Ohio State Saturday. It's gonna be a fun weekend of football this
It is.
week. I love this time of year.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get to the first Thanksgiving game of the day, which is the Bears and Lions. And I don't think we need to go over this one too much.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears will make it a little bit closer than some of these games Detroit's had. But I mean, I've said it so many times this year. There's no way that I can pick against the Lions, even if
Yeah.
they're going to be without Montgomery and possibly Amon-Ra. We'll see. I bet you he still plays.
Yeah.
But even without Montgomery, that just means more Gibbs. It means more Laporta. It means more J. Jameson Williams. It means a lot more of their weapons are going to continue to go off, and they're probably going to get a defensive touchdown or something. It's Lions all day.
Yeah, I have the Lions too. It was not a hard discussion.
No. This one though.
This one is going to be a fun one. Dallas and Giants. Yeah.
Kind of a shit bowl. I'm actually going to go Dallas here. Dallas looked a lot better. They, obviously beat the Commanders last week barely in a fucking wild fourth quarter shootout type of game. But I just don't trust the Giants at all. They look like they are in such chaos. Obviously we said this a little bit ago. Like, Brian Dabble looks fucking pathetic. Dallas just has a little bit better players, and their defense is at least somewhat competent. As of right now, New York is just like they're literally one of the worst teams in the league, in my opinion. So Gotta go
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah, I went with Dallas too, just for the fact that Tommy DeVito might not play in this game, so it might go down to Drew Lock to start the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to go over. Like you said, Dallas last week played well against Washington and held their own and actually won the game off of a couple of but it was a couple of Washington mistakes like the punt and the kickoff and the kickoff. Like they did the outside kick and that was returned for a touchdown too. So just a couple just a punt return to kickoff return that sealed the deal, which doesn't happen too often. So it's just unlucky from Washington.
Yeah.
But for the fact that Dallas is always at home playing on a Thanksgiving game, they're never on the road. They always have the Giants number, and I don't think the last time the Giants beat Dallas was like in the Eli days. Was the last time they actually beat Dallas.
That sounds about right.
So, and with your third string quarterback starting, I just don't see how this goes very well for New York, and this is probably Brian Dable's last year as the head coach of the New York, as they already fired their GM already. Yeah. I think after this, Dable's the next to go.
Which I think was ass backwards because they've been drafting decent.
They have been drafting decent. And after watching the Hard Knocks of the Giants, I was like, okay, this is like a good, solid GM. He's drafting good players. He's doing well. And then
but he is going to get blamed for losing Barkley, and I think that's why he got fired. But
and technically, it's not even his fault he lost Barkley. No. Barkley just wanted out, period, and he was never going to get him back.
Yeah.
And the Giants should have expected that from the get-go.
Yeah.
But we move to the last Thanksgiving game of the evening. The weird one to me, Miami versus Green Bay, because I don't think I've ever seen Miami play in a Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, I don't know if I have either. And this is a weird game for me to pick. Because
also, let me put some context in here real quick before we make a decision. This game's an 8:20 game. It's in Green Bay, and it's already going to be hardly 30 degrees. And so, I think it's supposed to be partly cloudy, but with a decent amount of wind. So that kickoff time is going to be in the low 20s, maybe even in the teens.
So with that said, Green Bay. Because Miami cannot play well in the snow or in just cold weather at all.
Yeah.
You could throw as many ice cubes as you want at the McDaniels because he apparently was doing that this week at practice from what he was said.
Yeah.
You can do that all you want. You can't help Tua in this way.
It's like the KC game last season in the playoffs, where it's like 5 feet of snow and they just couldn't.
And Green Bay's just a solid fucking team all around. They really are. So it's really hard to pick Green Bay. But Miami is playing better, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do make that game closer. But Green Bay.
I went with Green Bay just for the fact of a lot of it was weather purposed. Because like here in Cleveland, when even just like a little bit of wind comes in, it makes it 10 degrees colder.
Oh yeah.
And like today, it was like 45. Yeah, today was like 45 degrees, but the real feel was like 35. And it's going to be like that tomorrow in Green Bay, where kickoff it's only going to get a high of 32 during the day, and that game's at 8:20.
Oh yeah.
So it's already going to be dark. That kickoff temperature is going to be about 25 degrees.
Whew.
And with the wind and the wind chill, whatever, it's probably going to be 10 degrees colder than that. So it's going to feel like it's like 15, 14 degrees. And Miami's not so good when it comes to cold.
No.
And that's why I love that they're coming to Cleveland this year too, because it's going to be the exact same way. It's going to be really, really cold, and they're going to hate it. So and plus two, Green Bay has been really good all season. Their defense has been really well. Jordan Love looks like a quality starter quarterback for them, even though everyone made fun of that pick a couple of seasons ago, and he's turning out to be really good for them. So I think Green Bay has this one. So our Black Friday game on Friday, 3 p.m. game. Weird time for a football game, 3 p.m. Vegas versus Kansas City. Who do you got?
I mean, Kansas City. The Raiders are pretty depleted. They just lost Gardner to a broken collarbone, so I know he's not playing. So, I mean, Aiden O'Connell will probably make that game a little bit cooler, but Pat Mahomes is starting to play better. And when that happens, Kansas City is really hard to beat. And so, Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, it was a no-brainer. It's Kansas City. It's in Kansas City, and the Raiders just suck.
Yeah.
So, shouldn't be too one of a game to pick off. So, I'm going to go with KC as well. All right, moving on to the Chargers and the Falcons.
I'm going to say Chargers have a bounce-back game just because I don't have a lot of faith in the Falcons. Like, they've just been very inconsistent. They haven't been able to score a whole lot. The only thing that the Chargers need to not do is pass the ball to Quentin
Johnson.
He's so bad. And they did lose, Dobbins, but I think Gus Edwards will fill the role and probably have a monstrous game for no reason.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a run game sort of shootout, but we'll see. I just don't trust Atlanta. I really don't.
Yeah, I agreed with you. I went with the Chargers as well, just for the fact that Atlanta's too inconsistent. They're either playing really good or they're just really bad. You don't know what Atlanta team you're going to get. And plus, on their more recent side, they have been playing pretty bad. Kirk Cousins just doesn't look like his old self. I think it's like we said earlier during the show, it's more or less scheme-wise. He doesn't really fit the scheme of what Atlanta's trying to do. And it's too much of just feed Bijan Robinson and not do anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's really going to hurt the Falcons for the long run is if they feed Bijan far too much in the passing game and in the run game. Like, I get it. He's a star-studded player. But you also have Kyle Pitts. You have, I believe they still have Darnell Mooney. They have Ray McLeod. They have good players, but they just choose to not give it to anybody besides Bijan. And you can't win with one guy alone. I mean, I thought they were good with just Tyler Algier because Tyler Algier is a good bell cow running back, and there's games where Algier has come in and had 10 carries and had 100 rushing yards, and he had 1,000 rushing yards in his rookie year too. So I always thought they didn't need Bijan because I thought Algier was good, but I mean,
clearly they didn't care.
clearly they didn't care, but they only seem to go with Bijan Robinson the entire time, and they just forget that they have anybody else.
Yeah, they forget they have a 6'5" Drake London and a 6'5" Kyle Pitts.
Which I don't know how you can't throw to either one of them because they're huge.
Yeah, it pisses me off because I have Kyle Pitts in my fucking fantasy team.
Yeah, luckily I had Drake London, I think, in our Dynasty League, and I traded him last year because they weren't giving him the ball at all. But yeah, Atlanta's game plan is so easy when you figure it out. It's just give Bijan the ball and let's not do anything else. The games they did win this year was because they split the ball around the field, but they said, fuck that. Let's just give it to Bijan Robinson.
Right.
So if you have Bijan in your fantasy team, thumbs up to you.
Yeah,
if you have everyone else, then the Falcons just hate you.
Yeah.
Another AFC North matchup, Steelers and Bengals in Cincinnati. It's a tough one.
It is.
It's a tough one.
Are Bengals at home here?
Yeah. So all the teams on the right-hand side are at home.
So I'm going to go Bengals. I think the Steelers are a little rattled. And the Bengals have been scoring lights out too. Like they put up points. They just don't really match up their defense. But Pittsburgh's offense has not been the greatest. So I think the Bengals finally catch a break here. I think the Bengals do it at home.
Yeah, I think the defense always wins championships. It's not working so well for the Steelers. They can't rely on that defense for too much longer. Otherwise, they're going to collapse. Like you said, their offense has been horrible down the last few games. They haven't been able to produce with the running backs. Wilson has slowed down a bit. I think the Bengals have picked up from their crap year that they've had. There's, like you said, ever since that Baltimore game, they've been scoring a lot more points. They've been putting numbers across the board. They've just been getting unlucky with bad defense. And Zach Taylor being incompetent.
Yeah.
But I think the Bengals win this game because I think the Steeler train is starting to slow itself down a little bit. And I had that feeling at the beginning of the year that they couldn't keep this up the entire year. It was eventually going to catch up to them, and it's starting to.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like the Steelers. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, Houston and Jacksonville.
Man, dude, I've been really disappointed with Houston and
Yeah,
just how they've been playing, but there's zero reason that they lose to Jacksonville.
I agree.
Absolutely zero.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I don't see them losing to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is probably at this point the worst team in football right now.
Yeah.
Um, Trevor Lawrence can't seem to stay healthy enough, and Doug Peterson's again another just idiot who was saved by a good Eagles team back in the day.
Yeah.
So I went with Houston, Arizona, and Minnesota.
Arizona also disappointed me last week, and because of that, I'm going Minnesota because Minnesota is a better team. They've been playing a little bit better. Jordan fucking Addison has been on a little bit of a tear.
Yeah,
As of recent. Obviously, Sam Darnold isn't playing super well, but everybody kind of ate last week, and everything just seems to keep fitting. And the Vikings do have a pretty solid defense. They've had a pretty good defense all year long.
they have a top 5 defense right now.
Kyler's starting to slow down a little bit for the Cards, but they're still playing better, and I'm pretty sure they're still at the top of that division, if I'm not mistaken. Still,
Yeah, the
so
Cardinals are number 1.
it's not like they're bad, but Minnesota's just a better team.
Yeah, again, I went with Minnesota just for the fact that, like you said, it's almost like Arizona is kind of like Atlanta right now. They're kind of just up and down, inconsistent. Now, I think Arizona's getting a little bit lucky with the kind of the crap division that they're in. That's kind of saving their season a bit, but like you said, Kyler Murray's just kind of up and down. You don't know what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah.
The whole team's just kind of up and down. They were on a little bit of a tear for a couple weeks, and then they just smoked the handbrake and they just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
Vikings have just been cruising along this season. They've just been doing their thing. Their defense is really good, and like you said, the offense is starting to look back like it did at the beginning of the year. So I like Minnesota. Colts and Patriots.
Although I am a pretty big fan of Drake May, Anthony Richardson is playing a lot better the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna pick the Colts because of that. I think they're just playing a little bit better ball now. They're still not like an amazing team, and I don't have total faith in them to win this game. But I just think the Pats are at the point now where they're like, all right, we've won enough games. Like we don't have to keep winning. Like we still need to play for a decent draft pick, and I think that's kind of the strategy. So, St. Colts.
Yeah, I completely agree. I said the Colts as well, just like you said, for the fact that there's really no need for the Patriots to win any more games. Obviously they're going to try to, but they're on a 2-game losing streak. Caleb or Drake May is starting to look more down to earth again, like a rookie quarterback. They just lost to the Rams and Dolphins. I don't see them. I don't see them continuing to win games much this year. Their defense is kind of atrocious.
Yeah.
So I went with Indianapolis as they're still continuing to fight for that playoff spot. All right, Seattle and the Jets.
I've lost all faith in the Jets, so I'm gonna pick Seattle. Seattle's not playing terrible. They're just kind of oddly
good,
consistent. Like sometimes they're really good, sometimes really bad. But the Jets are just ass right now. They're in a hole, and I don't think they're gonna get out of it anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think the Jets have they stopped all production. They stopped everything. Like, even with Devontae Adams coming in, it didn't make any difference whatsoever. Aaron Rodgers has been god awful all year.
Yeah.
I think this is a testament that maybe teams should stop signing 40-year-old quarterbacks, especially the big contracts, because it's just not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And especially giving them deal, and especially just like saying like, oh, you came back from an Achilles injury far too early. You look even slower than a 40-year-old. You look like a 60-year-old out there. And your throws have just not been good or quality, and your receivers can't catch, period. So, and the defense is starting to struggle a lot now. After having a great start, that defense is not looking elite like it did before. Seattle should have this game.
Yeah.
Tennessee and Washington.
All right. You might be a little surprised at this statement, but I'm gonna go Tennessee. Will Levis looks a lot better over the last 3 games. He's playing out of his mind. They finally found something there with those receivers. And Washington has just looked weird. They just lost to Dallas in a weird shootout. And Jane Daniels, he looked better last week, but he's been not as great. And I don't know if they're going to have Brian Robinson. That's going to hurt them. And if that's the case, I do think the Titans can actually do it on the road too. So be interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, I went with Washington just because I don't think Brian Robinson even made a massive difference.
Yeah.
Because I think Eckler.
Well, I don't know if they have Eckler either. He might also be hurt.
Eckler's questionable for this game, but I think he's done a lot better in the past couple of games than Brian Robinson, especially in the passing game. But I think Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels has found something. And even he's found something with Zach Ertz, because Zach Ertz looks resurged again. And I think just because they're at home, I think Tennessee's I agree with you that Will Levis has looked really good and that offense has looked good, but that defense is atrocious.
Yeah.
That defense cannot stop a thing. And Jaden Daniels, like a Lamar Jackson, can run the ball all day long if he has to escape the pocket. And that's when Tennessee starts losing football games, is because they've had a hard time keeping up with the guys like Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels. Right. They're good with pocket passer quarterbacks, but when you get a guy who can be mobile and throw the deep shot better than Lamar, it's going to be a rough day for Tennessee. I think there's going to be a couple of deep shots to Terry McLaurin, and it's not going to go so well for Tennessee. Tampa Bay and Carolina.
Tampa Bay, but Carolina does make this game interesting. But I know they have Mike Evans back. Bucky Irving's been on a tear as well. Baker has just played solid this year. I love it. I don't see them really slowing down here now, especially that they have Mike Evans back. But Carolina is going to make this game interesting because they literally took it to the Chiefs last week. Bryce Young looked good, and I'm happy to see that they're getting a little bit better because I really felt bad for Bryce Young when he was really struggling. But Tampa Bay's got this game regardless.
Yeah, I went with Tampa Bay just for the fact that it's just still Carolina. And I get it. I like Bryce Young's resurgence. He deserved it because I felt, again, I feel bad for quarterbacks when they get put in the worst position as possible and they get the blame for everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you want him to do? It's not his fault he gets sacked 12 times a game because his offensive line can't keep him upright or give him more than half a second to even make a decision or make a play. It's not his fault. It's the organization for not giving him any weapons to put around him. Like you said, Tampa Bay they got Mike Evans back. Cade Otton has looked insane the last few weeks. Yeah. And Bucky Irving has become an RB1 over the last month.
Oh, yeah.
So that offense is starting to get back to what it was at the beginning of the season for Tampa Bay. Obviously, they're missing Chris Godwin. But even just having Mike Evans back just helps Baker Mayfield so much because now he has 2 people to throw to instead of 1. So that really gives him a chance to spread the ball a little bit better, which Baker likes to do best, is spread the ball around.
Yeah.
Rams and Saints.
Rams. The Rams have looked weird because they've lost a few games, but they've played well. Their defense is playing somewhat well. Obviously, the offense is starting to cook. Does suck that Kyron is getting less work now because they have their receivers back. If they can add Kyron into that offense again and sort of integrate everybody, the Rams will look a lot better. But I think they'll bring the Saints back down to earth after fucking beating us. But that's also not saying much because you beat the Browns. But the Rams will put them back down to earth.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I think the Rams will put them back down to earth because there's the Saints beat us, and that's not much of an accomplishment. And Taysom Hill is not going to have that kind of day ever again. So I don't know what the Saints are going to do, but the Rams are just a more complete team as of right now than the Saints.
Yeah.
So I think the Rams plus Sean McVay is a top 5 coach and he's a mastermind. So there's no shot at the Saints beating a guy like Sean McVay, especially with a rookie head coach. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
Eagles, and I found this game to be a little bit tough, but I've made I made my decisions before Zach started making his choices. I make my choices when I make the spreadsheet. So if me and Zach have like a full slate of the exact same picks, just know that I made my picks like an hour,
right?
like an
and
hour
I didn't know his
beforehand.
picks at all, by the way.
So I made my picks an hour before. So don't say we combined on these picks. No, I made my picks a long time ago. But
mine are
Eagles,
straight up the dome.
Yeah, his is straight up the dome. Eagles and Ravens.
So this is my thought process, because this is obviously two of the best running teams in the entire league going up against each
Absolutely.
other. So now I'm really comparing certain different types of positions here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Eagles have a better wide receiver core, and I think they have a better defense. And I think that's the only reason the Eagles win this game. Beyond that, the Ravens could and should win this game because Lamar pulls fucking tricks out of his sleeve all the time. But man, it's hard to go against Saquon right now. He went for over 300 total yards last week. That's unfucking believable.
He had 230 rushing yards. 230 rushing.
I thought it was 255 or something.
Oh, yeah, it was 255.
Yeah.
He had 273-yard rushing touchdowns.
Fucking insane.
273 yarders.
Yeah.
And they said that he was bad on the Giants, but the Giants were the ones holding him back. But I thought I had the exact same process as you. I kind of just went down like almost like position by position because that's how this game's going to go. Like you said, I think Philadelphia has the better offensive line. I think they have the better receivers. I think the running backs is even right now because they're both elite right now. And I looked towards the defense and I was like, that passing defense of Baltimore is just atrocious.
Yeah.
They turned Kyle Hamilton from a corner into a strong safety.
Yeah.
And he has not looked that well in that position.
Yeah.
He looks lost out there. But I went with the Eagles just for the fact that I think defensive-wise, there's no way they're going to stop the tush push. There's no way they're going to stop Jalen Hurts throwing the – they're not going to stop Jalen Hurts throwing the deep ball to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's probably going to have 100 receiving yards. Saquon Barkley is probably going to have a monstrous game again, running on the ground. The only reason I would consider Baltimore is head coaches. Because I think Nick Sirianni is dumb as hell.
Yeah.
And Jim Harbaugh is
not an idiot.
Not an idiot.
It's John. It's John, not Jim.
Is it? I keep getting them mixed up.
But
yeah, I just think that it is John Harbaugh. I'm so fucking stupid. That's okay. I suck at twins, even though I have twin uncles. But yeah, John Harbaugh is an NFL mastermind. He's been with the Ravens since like 2005, 2006 or something. So he's been with them for a very long time. But that's the only way I could see the Ravens winning this game is just the out coaching.
Yeah.
But other than that defense cannot hold shit because they even lost to us. They let Jameis throw for 350 yards.
Yeah.
And they let Seth Tillman look like a wide receiver one of the best receivers in the game. So I went with the Eagles just for the fact that the Baltimore defense just can't hold anything.
Right.
All right, Sunday Night Football, San Francisco and Buffalo. And again, I will reiterate, the game is in Buffalo on Sunday night. And Saturday is going to snow all day in Buffalo. So Sunday it's going to be cloudy with no snow, but there's going to be a ton of snow on the ground already. And it's going to be 33 as a high. So that means by 8 p.m. it's going to be, again, like the mid to low 20s. It's going to be like Green Bay. It's going to be like the mid to low 20s at the start of kickoff. And especially with Buffalo being right up against the lake, it's going to be about 10 to 15. It's going to be about another 15 degrees cooler. So that game's probably going to be almost, at that point, single digits to start the game.
It's Buffalo. Like that's what it is. And Buffalo is going to win this game.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about that part of it. But I saw something today that Matt Milano is practicing in full for them, and that is the Bills' top linebacker.
Yep.
He's been out all season long, and the Bills have been this good. Adding Matt Milano to a San Francisco team that might not even have Brock Purdy again this week. San Fran, dude, they're in a rough spot right now. San Fran's at the point where they might not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's been a rough season for them with a lot of the injury bug that they've gotten. Buffalo is just going to kick their ass. I can't lie.
Yeah, I went with Buffalo just because, like you said, Brock Purdy might not play. If Brock Purdy does, he'll give him a decent chance of keeping his game close. But other than that, man, the weather, the snow is going to hinder them a lot.
Yeah.
Again, Buffalo has a great run game. They're going to rely on Christian McCaffrey a lot in San Francisco for the 49ers. But Josh Allen is probably the MVP this year of the league. Like you said, Milano's coming back as a linebacker, and that defense is going to be full forced.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to be good for San Francisco. Like you said, this is probably going to be a season where San Francisco, because of the injuries, is not going to make the postseason, and this is going to be a rough game for them. Buffalo's going to hammer them. And then it's Monday Night Football, and it's us again. Yay, another primetime game back to back. Yay, this game was supposed to get bounced out for another different game, but they said, nah, let's keep it in because it's fun. Jameis Winston's fun. So Monday night, it's us and the Denver Broncos.
In Denver.
Which
makes it tough for us. I'm still going to pick the Browns here just because, you know what? I'm going to ride it. I don't necessarily expect us to win, but I do expect us to play much better than we did against, say, the Saints.
Yeah.
And the good thing for the Browns is Bo Nix is still a rookie. You can get under his skin and make him play like a rookie. It's not like Denver is really like scoring a whole lot. Like they're not.
No.
It's not high scoring games. You just can't let Bo Nix really get going on the ground. And if you can stop the run game entirely and not let him really scramble, I think you're going to keep yourself in a good position to win. And I think the Browns can win like 20 to 17. Like that's kind of where I'm at. So same Browns.
So I went the opposite just for the fact that I want to not jinx us and kind of flip it. So I went with Denver just for the fact that it's in Denver. It's probably going to be a cold weather game again. Obviously, we're a cold weather team, so it doesn't really bother us too much.
Right.
Bo Nix, this is the first time he's probably going to play against a really good defense, an elite defense. That was elite. But I think this is the first time he's going to play against an elite defense. Myles Garrett is looking at this game, looking at shots because he loves rookie quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
So this could potentially be another high, a 2 to 3 sack game for Myles Garrett.
Oh yeah.
Because their offensive line is not that good.
No.
But I will say I went for the defense purposes for the Denver Broncos because my worry is that the run game is not going to happen and we're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And I think Jameis might have a couple picks in here. So I think it's going to be a tough one for sure. But I'm hoping to say the Denver Broncos so I can jinx. So I could just jinx them and have the Browns win. But I do think the Broncos can win this football game.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, those are our picks. Again, Zach is dominating. He's up by 7 games on me. So let's see if I can make a comeback. We've had a couple differences in picks this week on like the last time around.
Yeah.
The only games we actually had, we had two different picks. As you had Tennessee, I had Washington, and you have the Browns, and I have Denver. So this is my chance to
Yes, sir.
overtake you a little bit and inch closer. But again, it's all depending on if Denver can win and if Washington can win, because I'm hoping Denver loses, obviously.
Right.
But I have to do the reverse psychology move, and I can't get too excited. Otherwise, I'm going to get way too excited and we're going to lose. And then I'm going to be super depressed all Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us, guys. Hopefully, we come back with a solid Browns dub and Ohio State dub against that team up north. And we will look into more Cavs stuff as well, even though they just lost tonight. Your boy hit on a $300 bet. So I am feeling juicy, but I'm also feeling tired. So I'm ready to get off. So, Andrew, you got anything else before we get off tonight?
No, man. I will say go Buckeyes. And again, we should be streaming on Saturday if all things click and go to plan. So be on the lookout for that stream.
Yep. All right, guys. We will see you next time.
Yep.